YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And I got an interesting video for you guys today. What I did here was I took all the last place teams from last year's NFL season. Last place teams from their division. And I'm going to talk about which teams I think have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I only think there's two here. Maybe that's a little harsh. All the other teams but two. I really would put a 0% chance on them. You know, that's tough. I think some of them can go far. But these two teams, do I think they will win the Super Bowl? Do I think they have a great chance to win the Super Bowl? No. But I think based off their team, based off how they're built and maybe their coaching staff, I think they can go the distance. There's a chance they can go to the distance. Similar to the videos we did last year, kind of did which teams can go from worst to first in their division and first to worst, but those are two totally different videos. We'll get to those down the line here. This one's a little different. I'm not really basing it off who's in their division. You know, I'm kind of, it's not about their division. It's just about how the team is built, in my opinion. Do they have a chance to reach the Super Bowl? So only two teams here. Who will it be? We'll get started in just a second. 20K is our subscriber goal. Support's been awesome. We're almost to 20K. And we have daily sports videos here at the Goat House and some live streams. We got you covered here, so please subscribe if you haven't quite yet. Click that like button. Checking out our Twitter, which we answer questions and have polls for you guys. Right now, actually, we have a poll going on who's going to win the AFC, who's going to win the NFC, and then we'll get the Super Bowl poll going. You guys voted for the divisions up until that point. So, pretty interesting. Please check it out. Link in the description. But, back to the video. So what I'm going to do here, the best way for me to do this, I'm going to remove the teams in order. The least likely to win the Super Bowl to the two teams that I think that I'm giving a chance to win a Super Bowl out of the last place teams from last year. So first team I'm going to take off. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean this will be the worst team this year record-wise out of these teams. It's just how they're built. You know, do they have any X factors, you know? And the first team I'm taking off is the New York Giants. Because of their quarterback situation, mainly, I'm also not a huge fan of their offensive line. The left side's actually okay. Right side, even though they had some pickups recently, not good. And they got Saquon Barkley. He can be the best running back in football. He definitely can. Receiver unit's not that good, but it doesn't really matter because the quarterback group isn't that good. No matter it's Eli, if it's Daniel Jones, they will struggle at first. I'm not doubting any future here, but they will struggle. On the defensive side, it's just a complete rebuild. You know, the defensive line is probably the best part of their group. You know, they already had a good defensive line. They had Dexter Lawrence, who I think can play right away. I think he's an elite run stop right away. So they have a great D-line. You know, it's a little more impressive when you have that good of a D-line when it's a 4-3. You can take over games, but they're in a 3-4. They got some pass rushers, young pass rushers that I think will step up, be impressive early here. Secondary is a little rough, but they got a good duo for the future. They drafted Baker. They drafted Julian Love. So, it's looking good for the future on the defensive side, but not right now. There's nothing there that tells me they can win now. Yes, they have an elite player in Saquon Barkley. It's a running back. You need a little more than that. So the Giants come off the board first. And next off the board, maybe a little of a surprise that I take this team off before another team, but I'm going to go with the Jets off the board. So the two New York teams are off the board. The Jets, even before all this, the firings and the Gase thing, I wasn't huge on the Jets. I wasn't a huge fan here. But people were hyping them up. Let me say that. People were hyping them up. Almost, after the Browns, it's kind of was the Jets. Can the Jets make the playoffs? And I was like, there's a chance, but I'm not in love with this team here. Darnold, I'm not a huge fan of, but he has potential. I'm not doubting his potential. Might take some time. Not a big fan of Gase. They get Le'Veon Bell. That's great. Receiver unit, I like Anderson, but not the best receiver unit. Offensive line, we know it's not where they want it to be. And the defense, you got a pretty good linebacker group, middle linebacker group. Secondary is kind of a mess. I don't like that people are doubting Trent Johnson already. Only been 1 year in New York. I give him a chance, but other than that, the corners, I should say, are a mess. Jamal Adams, I like a lot. But you need more corners, I think. Pass rushers, they drafted some. Love Quinn Williams. He can be dominant. It's just there's not enough there. There's not going to be elite quarterback play. And if there's not elite quarterback play, there needs to be a lot everywhere else. And it's really not there. And then the whole firing happens after the draft, after they made draft picks. And I understand that Gase probably was heavily involved in that, mostly involved in that in the coaching staff because he had to get the right players in. And they probably had a feeling on the direction they were heading. But what it tells me is that Gase and the coaching staff aren't happy with the players they have in there. They're not happy with the personnel. So, and they don't want that to continue to happen. They want the guys that can scout while they're coaching the right players. So it makes sense to what he did. People are bashing him for what Gase is doing. I don't rip I don't rip him at all for what he's doing. He needs his team. I'm not a huge believer in Gase, but he needs the right scouting staff, and that puts together his team. But what it tells me is he doesn't like I said, they don't like the players they have in there currently. Not a big confidence boost for this season. I think it's going to take some time. That's why the Jets are off here. I do think they may have a little more talent than the Giants, but pretty close. Next team I'm going to take off is the Cardinals. Now, you might ask why the Cardinals come off third and not first or second. Well, they do have an X factor. Nobody's seen that offense in the NFL. Nobody's prepared for that offense. Nobody's prepared for Kyler Murray. So there is some slight chance they can actually be a playoff team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but there is some chance because they can win games purely off X factor, impossible to game plan against, stuff like that. What to expect from them. Some teams may not know. Some teams have an old school type defense. So it might be tough to play that team. And there's some part of me that can actually see them winning a lot of games because of that. But will they win the Super Bowl? Not with the rookie quarterback. Not with that offensive line, even though it got a little better. Not with that, no Patrick Peterson for a little bit. I know he'll be back if they make a playoff push or anything. But the rest of that secondary, I do like Budda Baker. Really not a whole bunch of pass rushers or guys that can make get pressure on the quarterback besides Chandler Jones. So they don't really have enough, and a rookie quarterback might be pretty tough. It's going to be a little different for him going from playing against Big 12 defenses with the best offensive line in football, college football, to playing on the Arizona Cardinals. So it's a little different. So I think there is a part of me that think they can make a push somehow, but not win a Super Bowl. I give it 0%. And then next up, this is where it gets pretty tough. But next up, I'll take off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know they got Bruce Arians. I really like the coaching changes. I didn't really like their coaching group last year. I think they definitely can be better. Winston still concerns me. 1 week he looks like a Pro Bowl quarterback. 1 week he looks like he should be a third-string quarterback. So, and Arians knows that too. If anyone was watching the draft, they actually had him on, and right away he said Winston needs to he needs to stop throwing the ball to the wrong team, I think is the exact word. So he knows that he's not quite there yet, Winston, and he thinks he can work with him, obviously. But is this guy going to turn it around and win a Super Bowl? It's tough. I do like the receiver group, even though they lost a couple guys. I think Ronald Jones with the new coaching staff, new offense, he can be that running back he was supposed to be, and they believe that. They drafted well on defense, but there's just not enough there for me on defense. I think they can put up points. Even if Winston is inconsistent, they'll put up enough points. Offensive line, on paper it looks good. They gave up some pressure last year and it stayed the same. New coaching staff, though, they could be a little better. But defense, there's not enough pass rush. Jason Pierre-Paul, I don't know if he really fits the new defense anyways, but, he would have been their best pass rusher. And now he might be out for the season. I think Vita Vea steps up. Devin White's going to be good. Young secondary for the future, not for right now. There's not enough going on in that defense, and you don't have an elite quarterback. So I give it 0%. Again, that might be harsh, but I give it 0%. They can win some games. They can make the playoffs. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. Next team, we got 3 AFC teams and 1 NFC teams. Ooh, 1 NFC team there. Are they the final 2 for me? Or is it going to be 2 AFC teams? Let's take off an AFC team next here because we know there's only 2. Final teams here, and then I'm gonna go with the next 2. I can take off in any order. I can take one off now or the other off now, and it really doesn't. They're in the same boat to me. I'm gonna take the Bengals off right here, and the Bengals they could have they can have a pretty good offense. It was really good in the beginning of last year. Dalton got hurt then. They have Mixon. They drafted a really good running group that can contribute right away. And then they have a really good receiver unit with A.J. Green, with Tyler Boyd, who I liked his game. He was a big breakout guy last year. Offensive line got a little better. Needs to be better, though. And then defense is very young, and a lot of young talent from last year stepped up. They could step up even more this year. Is there enough pass rush? I think the defense may be a little too young. And, I don't know if I trust Dalton. I could see him getting to the playoffs if he's healthy. I can see that. Can he win a Super Bowl? It's hard to see. They have more talent than the other teams took off the board, and they may have more talent than the next team about to take off the board, but it's just really hard to see. And even though it's 0% chance, again, it's tough, but I just don't see it. And it's close to having some chance. They definitely can make the playoffs. And then the next team I will take off. So that's going to reveal the 2 teams here that I do think have a chance. And the next team I'm taking off is the Raiders. The Raiders, there's just not enough on defense. There's nothing in their secondary really that I love. They're going to give up some passing yards. The linebacker unit also needs work. The pass rush definitely got better, but it still isn't there. D-line can be pretty good. So it's really their defense, and we don't know what we're going to get with Derek Carr. A couple years ago, the Raiders were legit. If Derek Carr didn't get hurt that year, they were a contender, and that wasn't that long ago. People forget. So if he can play like that with Gruden there, it's possible. And that's why the Raiders lasted on this list as long as they did on the board here, because that offense with Antonio Brown, they brought in Tyrell Williams, Josh Jacobs in there with the solid running back group. The offensive line got better, but still could struggle. It's really on Carr. You don't know what you're going to get, but they have potential to be a high-powered offense, and that's why they were still on this list here. And then the defense is what takes them off the list. That defense can't win a Super Bowl. I know it's more of an offensive league now, but you need some sort of defense. You need something. You even see the Patriots. They had big-time playmakers. It was a big reason their defense stepped up in the Super Bowl, even though they're not known as a defensive team. So, there you go. 2 teams remain. Let's discuss them a little bit. I think the Jaguars have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year, yes. And I think the Detroit Lions, maybe a little more of a surprising one, have a chance. The tough part about the Lions is the division they play in. I mean, the Jags playing a tough one too, but getting to the playoffs in that division is the toughest part for the Lions. It's you got the Bears, you got the Vikings, you got the Packers. And the Lions could win this division. I said this multiple times. The Lions could win that division. It wouldn't shock me if the Lions win that division. My money has been on them finishing last, but it's so close and so tough. But you look at their coaching staff. I like what they're doing. Their coaching staff. Patricia is a good coach, and he's got a defensive mind. You saw that defense was playing ridiculous at the end of last year, and I think they continue with that. They add Trey Flowers. They get some rookies in there. Guys like Tracy Walker was great last year as a rookie. He's going to step up. They had a couple corners when they needed more of those guys. They already have Darius Slay, who's one of the better ones in football. The pass rush, I think, continues to get better. You've seen a guy like Romeo Okwara step up last year. Very impressive. And Deshaun Hand was ridiculous. So they have a long list of guys that can contribute, make an impact. They can stop the run finally, and they can get after the quarterback, which we knew. We discussed that, and they were kind of they were lacking on paper in the secondary, but they were able to play pretty well. So they got better. It's a complete defense, and looking at their offense. The only thing I worry about is the offensive line staying healthy, and that was a big reason why Stafford struggled last year. And so that's really the only thing I worry about. And I think if Stafford's protected, we know what he's capable of. I kind of ripped him last year because I was saying he was a little overrated. People view him as, a borderline, maybe he's a top 10 quarterback. I always disagree with that, but I knew he can play. And then last year, people were making an insane amount of excuses. And that's when I started kind of ripping a little bit. But we know what he's capable of. I know what he's capable of. He's being a good quarterback. Forget about last year. That was bad last year. It was bad. And there's no excuses for it. We need to stop with the excuses. The offense line doesn't help. But, when he throws the ball to the other team, he's got to put the blame on himself. And I think he does. It's just other people are starting to make excuses. But he's capable. It's a new year. Forget about last year. He's very capable of being a top 10 quarterback, even though I wouldn't put him there right now. And then him playing, even close to that, puts his team in a great situation. Another excuse I didn't like is he didn't have any weapons. I think he has weapons. I think Marvin Jones is a very solid receiver. I think he's underrated. See if he stays healthy. Kenny Golladay was one of my sleepers that draft class, NIU. I love his game. He's on his way to being a top 10 receiver. He's great. Kerryon Johnson's a beast. He's got to stay healthy. So I guess it's about staying healthy. But why is this team up here? Why do they have a chance? Because they're a complete team. Yeah, they can get better in some spots, but teams always can get better in some spots. And I like their coaching staff. Tough division, tough schedule, but this team has some talent. And it's a team to watch out for. But they're the Lions. It's almost like the Browns. Like, so much talent, but they're the Browns. It kind of applies to the Lions too, but it's a different time now. The main thing is on the offense line staying healthy. Stafford picking it up, and then the Jaguars. 2 years ago, they're in the AFC Championship with Blake Bortles, and they really. I don't like to say should have won. You can say that about a lot of teams, a lot of different scenarios. It's just how the game goes. But they could have won that game. Very realistically, could have won that game with Blake Bortles. They have Nick Foles now. Much better quarterback. He won a Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl MVP, actually. Offensive line's actually solid if it stays healthy. I like the Juwan Taylor pickup. Just got to stay healthy. Similar situation to the Lions there. Fournette, he's a very solid running back. More than a very solid running back if he's on the field. So he's got to be on the field. He's got to figure it out. Receiver unit is where it's weak. I think Nick Foles can make it work. There's some young guys that can step up. Guys like D.D. Westbrook, DJ Chark could step up. Marquise Lee, I liked a lot. I always thought he was underrated too. He's healthy this year, so they bring him back. They like him a lot. So they don't have a standout guy, but they got quite a few guys that can play, actually. And it's about staying healthy across that offense. Look at the defense. This was a top-tier defense 2 years ago. I think it was elite defense. It was a couple elite defenses. They were one of them. And they have the best corner duo in football right now, possibly. They don't have a lot of depth at that position. So, again, you got to stay healthy. Not too much of a concern there. Safety group isn't as good as it was a couple years ago, but I think they can manage with what they got. And then maybe Ronnie Harrison can step up. Linebacker unit is kind of what scared me recently because Miles Jack was, I'm gonna say it. I liked Miles Jack a lot. He was pretty bad last year. He was pretty bad, and I think that's generous. I don't know what happened. I like his potential still. He's capable. We know he's capable. Telvin Smith being out, that's rough. Leon Jacobs going to have to step up. Some other guys going to have to step up. So linebacker unit could look rough because the whole situation, Telvin Smith. But the pass rush, already a top-tier pass rush, and you add Josh Allen into there, and I think an interior pass rush, Taven Bryan's a guy that can step up. So that pass rush could take the load off the linebacker and safety unit, especially with those corners on the outside. Having a great pass rush with very good corners forces quarterbacks to do things they don't want to do. Your safeties don't have to be the greatest things in the world. So that's what I like. So why could this team be up here? Why could this team win the Super Bowl? They were just there 2 years ago with a mediocre quarterback and now a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. They also have talents, top-tier talent, possible top-tier talent in Leonard Floyd. You got top-tier talent in both your corners, maybe the best corner in Jalen Ramsey. You got a top-tier pass rush. Maybe not as complete as the Lions, but they have more top-tier talent, and they have that quarterback that we know we're going to get from. Some people are concerned, but switching offenses, which there's in the back of my mind, there's a small piece that says that. But Jags are a tough team, though. That schedule is really, really tough. I mentioned this in the Jags video. I mentioned this in the playoff predictions video I just did. I was talking with somebody about the AFC South, like anybody can win it. My pick was the Jags. I'm picking the Jags, but as soon as I break down the schedule, it changed because who they play, when they play, where they play it changes a lot. So it's just about week by week going out and execute, staying healthy. Obviously, that's what it's about. It's what it's about every year. But they have a good enough team. So these two teams, I think, have a chance. They have a chance. I mean, if I had to pick one, again, I think the Lions are more complete, but something tells me the Jags have that firepower. That they got the quarterback. They got, Fournette's got to stay on the field, and they got the top tier corners with the pass rush. So I think the Jags would have a little better chance, maybe. But I think these two teams maybe slept on a little bit. The Jags, I think people forget they were just in the AFC Championship game, and the Lions, I think people write them off because of the Lions, but they can compete. Those NFC North games are always close, always real close, and the Lions have been, on the losing side for the most part over the last few years, but they're so close. One little thing wins them, not just one of those games, multiple of those games, and I think the new coach's second year, and then with the team getting better, being more complete, that could be the difference. So two teams definitely to look out for. Again, not picking these teams to win the Super Bowl. I think they have a chance, and a way better chance than people think, out of the last place team. So we're going to have plenty more predictions and rankings based off what I think will happen this upcoming season. Also going to get the other Goat House members to get together here and make their predictions for the season, who wins each division, who's in the playoffs, who wins each round, who wins the Super Bowl. So there's our subscriber goal. I already showed you guys that, 20K. Please help us out. But yeah, we got daily videos, plenty of videos on the channel already, plenty more to come. We cover more than just the NFL, covering the NBA draft, NBA free agency as well. But that's going to do it. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.